Joining us right now, State Auditor Cindy Byrd, talking about this investigation into Epic Charter Schools that has led to the arrest of three of really kind of the founders of Epic Schools. They're not there now, but Cindy, this has kind of been an investigation that has been, almost 10 years in the works. You had a big news conference about it yesterday. Do you feel there's just a sense of relief that we're at this point, that we are having charges brought against these three founding officers with Epic?
Yes, people have seen the allegations for several years now. We released an audit report in October 1st of 2020 that laid out the scheme, that talked about where the money had went, and I have been telling people publicly for months now, charges would come. And I know there's been some doubt about that, but this was a very, very complex scheme, and it took a little while to unravel. And whenever you think about the fact that a racketeering charge was filed, that takes a lot of investigation, a lot of combing through records to be able to prove that.
So just for people that are at home watching, it seems like almost a 10-year-long investigation. Why in the world would it take 10 years to get to this point today? I think that's what my first question really is that why so long?
Well, the OSBI had this investigation solely until July of 2019 when Governor Stitt asked my office to come in and investigate. So whenever my office came in and started investigating the audit or the Epic Charter Schools, we got on it. We got the numbers together. We were able to clearly see that there were some inappropriate things going on at this school. And then once we turned over the audit in October of 2020, we really felt like there would be action taken. But it did drag on a little while. I think that my office was very instrumental in making sure that this was not swept under the rug, because we kept demanding someone take action on this.
We're talking more than $20 million. The OSBI report is saying that the state's been scammed out of. You're saying it could be even double that. Where are we on that number? And how does it get to that point? How did they have that much access? Where is the oversight?
The oversight failed Oklahoma.
What
failed
department?
Oklahoma taxpayers.
The education department?
I believe there were multiple departments.
Which
from
ones?
The State Department of Education to the State Virtual Charter School Board. But even as allegations came forward, I believe lead decision makers in Oklahoma did not take the appropriate steps to make sure that our education funds were being spent in the manner they were supposed to.
What lead people are you talking about? Because
I'm talking about legislators.
Okay.
Legislators probably should have taken a closer look at how loosely our laws were written that was allowing this situation. One of the most egregious things that we found was that the company took 10% of every dollar and claimed it as their management fee. And over the period of time, it was $69 million. Well, whenever you go into a company's bank accounts to look at that, and we were able to get access through the multi-county grand jury subpoenas. So whenever we got these records in front of us, you would expect to see normal business expenses. You would expect to see a company being ran out of this financial account. That was not what we found. What we found, out of the $69 million, $55 million in pure profit was split between these three men. And then the rest of the money, the other $14 million, was spent on attorneys, on PR firms, lobbying efforts, and other related parties, such as one of the founders' wives, one of the school board chair's brother. So there were a lot of questionable things going on here. And while the company was supposed to be providing the management of the school, it appeared that they were more taking the money and letting the school employees do all of the management that was paid for by the school's general fund.
When that audit first came out, it seemed like, and now it's like it's in different management now. But when the people that were running Epic at the time, they were said, this was coding issues. The Department of Education did it different than the auditor would like. And they were like, this is just political theater. And we're hearing and we're learning now that's not the case.
It's absolutely not the case. And Epic's PR spokeswoman, who claimed it was political theater, probably has a lot to explain at this point. We have clearly laid out how this was a scheme, how it was set up to enrich the two founders of the school. It's the biggest abuse of taxpayer funds in the history of this state. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah, we're talking millions of dollars. In fact, the largest abuse of money in the state of Oklahoma.
There's another thing I would like to point out. Whenever the auditor's office, myself, we were looking into this case, we asked for the records of the learning funds. Now, Epic even admitted that they used the learning fund as a gimmick to attract students to the school. During the audit period, $145 million went into this student learning fund, and those are public funds. Even the Attorney General's office agreed with us and filed a brief in court, or filed a court case demanding that they be compelled to give us the records. During that time, we were looking at these. Where did this $145 million go? Once we got access to all records, EYS, which is the company that ran Epic, they claimed in a court brief that that was their money. The $145 million was their money, their business income, but what we found on income tax returns was very shocking. Even though they claimed that was their funds, those funds were never reported to the IRS as business income.
So there could be even more charges? Is that what you're alluding to?
And that's
then?
where I'm alluding to the fact that I believe this is way larger than the $22 million.
It seems like a Pandora's box was opened a long time ago, and we're finally kind of trying to get to the bottom of this. What do you say, though, to parents who have kids at Epic Charter School? And I mean, do families have any legal course? Was their money abused in this, according to you?
Well, they were promised $1,000 per student. We do not believe they got the full $1,000 per student. But I do want to really comfort parents and students at Epic right now. This audit was not about the school so much as it was about the company who came in and took over the school's checkbook. And right now, I believe that the board at Epic is trying their best to put the students first, to make sure they're getting the education they need and putting that money back into them, not letting that school be used just to enrich the ex-founders.
Do you feel like more charges against other people could be forthcoming?
I feel like that could be possible, yes.
Like who?
I'm not allowed to speak about those things right now.
All right. Anything else you want to add that you feel like might be important? I know yesterday you detailed out like a $500,000 bonus going to a former board member for lobbying. I mean, you laid out some very egregious financial, really wrongdoings. I mean, I guess where's the transparency? Do you feel like Oklahomans saw that?
I believe they got transparency yesterday, but I believe that Oklahomans need to pay attention to the reports coming out of the auditor's office. We're out here trying to make sure every taxpayer knows where their dollars are going. And whenever your state auditor gets a lot of hits back, that's when taxpayers should pay attention the most. If someone is fighting me about facts that I'm putting out about what's going on with their money, they really need to get involved and know what's going on.
I know that you've been in the auditor's office for a long time. We appreciate you coming to talk about this today, and anything else that you want to add that might be important?
I just think that, school choice is important. We want kids to be able to have a tailored education for them. But no matter what, at the end of the day, it is the taxpayer's dollar. And we owe it to the taxpayer to make sure they know exactly where their money is going, and no one gets a free ride.
Will you be making any recommendations to the legislature about oversight and accountability? And because, if the breakdown is with lawmakers and how we go about this transparency, it seems like every time there is something that, we're transparent as we can be, and then it's like, oops, now years later we're finding out over $20 million, possibly $50 million that, the state's reportedly been scammed out of. I mean, as taxpayers just sitting out there, they're like, how the heck does this happen? So what is your advice? What will you be doing to talk to lawmakers?
Well, we started making recommendations back on October 1st of 2020.
And did they go unnoticed or what?
They were not heeded, and another $80 million went into the pockets of these guys.
So from when you made the recommendation for more transparency?
Yes.
Wow.
So we have, there have been some really good legislators who have stood up and tried to make positive changes, and we are hoping that this year, after all of these facts have been laid out, that the legislature will take those seriously. And I believe there are very good people in the House of Representatives who are already trying to take these steps under Speaker McCall's direction.
Who didn't listen to you then?
Well, there's a laundry list of those. I hate to call them out right now, and I
Why
really
not,
would
though?
want to.
Well, I mean, if you feel that passionate about it, why not say who they are that you felt like put a roadblock up? Did people put roadblocks up for you?
There was a bill that was passed right after, or a bill that was proposed by Senator Paul Racino right after this audit report came out. And it come to find out he had taken maximum contributions from the founder of Epic. And the audit, or the bill, would completely change the auditor's office. the state auditor's office that belongs to the people. The state auditor is elected by the people. It would have outsourced all of the audits. The auditor's office would not have had that authority to do what the taxpayers elect them to do. And that was, you know, we fought back against it. And a lot of people across the state rose up and said, we're not having any of this. And they stopped that bill from passing. In fact, like I said, the House of Representatives has been very good to stand up for what's right. I appreciate them very much. And the bill that was sent over to them was killed in committee.
Well, Cindy, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming in and talking about this.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right.